Hi guys, it's Ryan from Pi Records, and I'm here with the Reverbivores. How are you guys?
Hey, we're good.
Doing great.
Awesome. Thanks for having us on.
First, before we go anywhere, I want to comment on that Morrissey shirt. Like I said before the interview, I love everything about it. It says "Kill Uncle" though. I didn't see that.
It does.
So, all right, let's start about introducing yourselves and where you guys are from.
Start with John.
Sure. So I'm Jonathan Korn. I am based in Castro Valley, California, which is the San Francisco East Bay. And we have been generally practicing at my house since we started. How many years? Like 25 years ago?
Like six? We're coming up on 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Go.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
I'm Tom. I play the bass. I also live here in the East Bay. I live to the north in beautiful Richmond, California.
Awesome.
Tom is so well. His sartorial choices are what's really making it here.
Yes.
I'm Tim Callender. I am the other guitarist. I live in Walnut Creek, which is about 45 minutes north of Castro Valley.
Awesome.
And I'm Adam Dietrich, and I live in Oakland. I play drums, and so we're East Bay all the way.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm sure you've shared the stage with the likes of Lewis Bailey and John Ashfield, and you have a really rich scene up there.
We do, and we have some really solid supporters of the surf scene around here, which are and some really great musicians, really great promoters. So they've really done a great job making the scene what it is today.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cousin Mary over at KFJC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cousin Mary's the jam.
Yeah, she's great.
Awesome. Well, so you say you started 25 years ago.
No.
More like
I mean, how much factual information do you really want here?
Well, we can do a version that's all lies, and then that might be more fun. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So tell me, 6 years ago, what brought you guys all together?
Yeah. So how did that happen? So 6 years ago, I was noodling around on guitar, and I didn't really have any direction. I mean, I've been playing guitar since I was in high school, and I was just playing guitar, and I was listening to music, and I was listening to surf music around that time and thinking, this would be fun to play. So I went with my son to the Sierra Surf Music Camp, which happened in the Sierra foothills, the big mountains to the east of us, organized by the Pyronauts lead guitarist, Paul Beatty. And his family has a really great facility up there. And he was putting together these surf music camps. So my son and I went up there, and we had a great time. We met a whole bunch of really premier surf musicians, primarily California surf musicians, and learned a lot about surf culture, learned about the players, the people involved. And I thought, this would be really fun to get a band together to play this music. So I put a note in Surf Guitar 101 internet forum saying that I was looking to put something together. And by some miracle, this guy responded and noted that he wanted to play surf music too. So we got together, and it just like clicked. And we were like this. It was amazing. It was totally amazing. And then we quickly realized we needed bass and drums. So that was a whole saga. Tim, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So we auditioned a drummer who was with us for about a year and a half or so, I want to say. We went through a number of different bassists, and they didn't have the right energy we were looking for. And in fact, this is legendary. We had put out not only on SG 101, but of course we also did Craigslist, and we got a response from somebody that basically said, well, I don't like the name of the band, and if you guys are old guys are going to go to bed at 10 p.m., I don't want to do this. But if you're interested, let me know. And it's like, well, into the trash pile. But Tom here found the note, and I think it was the name, the Reverbivores, that actually got you interested.
Yeah.
So Tom hooked up, and we started playing gigs, and we were, I mean, I hesitate to say we were getting a following, but we kind of were. Cousin Mary showed up for a number of our gigs, which was really encouraging.
She's a DJ. She's a longtime like surf DJ on KFJC, which is a college radio station here in the Bay Area. And she's in many ways like,
she's the fairy godmother of the surf scene
totally.
in the Bay Area. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you can like stream her shows, like the sets of music that she puts together, and it's not just surf, like she also does like avant-garde stuff, jazz, like all kinds of other things. She's just got impeccable taste. Like she's really awesome, and she's just a
great person. Yeah, absolutely. So we're gearing up to record our first record. I was on my honeymoon, and this other drummer decided he'd had enough. Okay, all right, and I think we had a gig coming up or something was going on, and
not me.
No, not Tom. But Tom said, "Look, I know a guy."
Yeah,
and we're like, "All right, okay, that's what it's come down to."
Yeah.
No, but Adam came on board, and Adam was very much the missing piece. It was all we liked the sound, we kind of liked the direction. But Adam brought that one last bit of it, which was not only just amazing musicianship and energy, but also the right personality that fit in to what we were doing and you know, I can't say there's ever been any interpersonal tension between the four of us with this lineup. And then he picked up the tunes quickly, and you know, and then we went and recorded, and it was a phenomenal session. I mean, it was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the call from Tom. What Tim was saying, Tom called me. He's like, "Hey, can you do?" It was very casual. He's like, "Can you sub for our? We don't have a drummer for a gig coming up." And I said, "Is this your surf?" I knew he was in a surf band, but that's all I knew. So, "Is this your surf band?" And he's like, yeah. It should be fine. Just do us a favor. You can come on out and rehearse. I don't think it'll be too difficult for you. And so it came out, and we went through. It was a lot of the surf classics, and we played the show. I was having a great time, and then the band was texting about rehearsals and things like that. And at some point, a few weeks later, I think it was, I can't remember, it was maybe Tim was going, "Did anyone ever ask you if you wanted to be in the band?" and I said, "Well, no, but I mean, it seemed like we were all getting along fine." But and he's like, "Well, just in case it wasn't clear, you're in the band if you want to be in the band." So that's how that came out. And then
that's kind of how my thing went too. Like I saw the ad on Craigslist, and I was like, "Oh, that's a funny name." And, I knew I had tangential knowledge of the surf music genre. My dad's a record collector. I'm a record collector. And my dad has had, my dad has surf records, and, I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff. And I never thought I'd play in a surf band. I've played in lots of other kinds of bands. But I see the ad on Craigslist. I show up for an audition. The guys had their shit together. Everyone seemed like easy go. Everyone seemed easygoing and like no egos, which is just, I think, also kind of a hallmark of the scene in general, which I think is also something worth pointing out, is it's surf music, and the bands and the scenes. There's not a lot of ego, and that was a big motivator for me. You know, being in like my 40s, I'm not on a rocket to rock and roll stardom anymore like I was in my 20s, right? It's really about having fun and spending your time with like-minded people.
Right. Yeah.
And so I showed up for this audition and jammed through the tunes, and it was fun. And there wasn't really a discussion of, boy, we'd really like you to be. I just kind of showed up again the next week at the same time, and it was just like, yeah, it's happening.
John, do we really want him in the band?
I think we should keep him.
Yeah,
now.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, that's just how it all worked out.
Yeah.
So how long would you say between when you got together and your first album came out?
Good question.
I'm going to say it's probably roughly about a year, year and a half,
It's
somewhere
a year
in
and a
there.
half, I think. Yeah.
We started out with a lot of classic covers, Penetration and Miserlou and Margaya and Surf Party.
It was mostly covers.
Yeah,
mostly covers at first.
And then there was kind of like, oh, we got these couple originals we really like. And then once we were all the four of us together, we started really like focusing on the original material, because
and cranking out a lot of it. Like
all of a sudden it's just like snowballed
period.
like really quickly.
There was a pretty prolific period where that was the other great thing, and still is the great thing about this band, and I think this genre. Like, one of us brings an idea to the table with a rough idea as to how something might be structured. The band just kind of knows where to fill in the blanks and color in the lines. And before you know it, like 2 or 3 rehearsals down the line, it's like, well, we got one in the bag. What else do we got? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there was a while there where we were cranking out a ton of it. And by the time it came to record our next record, it was almost like, all right, we're going to go in with these like 20 or 22 things. And we know that not all of it's going to make it out.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just,
we have to make a decision.
Got to make a decision. Yeah. And that's kind of a cool place to be, when you can kind of pick and choose what you're doing,
Yeah, something I want to touch on what Tom said about, the musical ideas. I'll write and assemble a song, say garage band, and a little more effort into the guitar, obviously, but for the bass and drums, the drums are just loops that I can grab in garage band. The bass, I just hit root notes, knowing that these two guys are going to do amazing things with it. And we have a song called Codename Kraken that goes through this breakdown and then just kicks in with this massive thing. And the first time we played it, and Adam came in with this thundering drum roll, like it was like, and I'm like, holy crap, wow. And then I'm like, I'm supposed to be playing too. and there are times, and and I think that's what's great about the practice. It allows, I'm speaking for myself, to hear what everybody else is doing, be amazed by it, so that when we actually record it or we're out performing, I can be part of all of that, rather than like just take the, it's sometimes a challenge to know that I've got to be bringing my part here when we've got some really talented musicians doing really amazing things with their instruments. And I would really love to just like stop and listen, except I've also got to be doing
I got to be playing.
Too.
I just want to listen.
Yeah.
We'll let you buy a ticket to the next show.
Really?
No.
Well, I think you just touched on something. What I like about this band is we collectively make music that we would like to listen to. It's not about like trying to nail the surf canon, so to speak, or make it sound a certain way. It's just sort of like we all, I think, play how we individually want to play, and then it comes out the way it does. And so it's less of a concept and more of just like
very organic.
So it just worked out. Good chemistry. I would think.
I think there's a huge amount of respect, and I think we all, to a degree, spend time listening to the bands that are more true to the traditional sound and feel and all that stuff. Like, to pull that stuff off, I don't think people really appreciate how difficult it is to pull off everything from just the sound on the recordings, as well as technically what's going on in some of the music. I think a lot of people say, oh, you're an instrumental band, you don't have a singer to worry about, you don't have to worry about that. It must be really easy. The reality is it's really not easy to do things kind of like true to the traditional form. And so we like that stuff. Now, that being said, I don't think any of us maybe, I'm not going to speak for John, maybe, because I know that John secretly would love it if we were like more traditional at times. But I don't think it's never really been any of our goals to like try and perfectly emulate like one of the old bands or anything like that.
So I think that's actually an interesting point you make, because so Tim and I write a lot of the songs. Tom also writes a lot of songs, and we all have very different styles of the songs that we write. We like lots of different types of music, but the songs that we create and bring to the band tend to have we each have a different sound. And then when we bring them all together, it kind of organically turns into this thing that is the Reverbivores. Yeah. And they each sort of sound like us, like each of us. And then they wind up sounding like all of us. I know that's kind of a touchy-feely way of thinking about it, but it's the organic way that we each bring our own thing to this collective.
Yeah. Nothing. I guess I should say there's nothing like really sacred. You know, when you bring an idea, you bring a chart, you bring something. It could be a 4 or an 8 bar riff that someone writes. You bring it in, and it's just like the band's gonna do what we do to it. And there is yet to be, in 6 years, I don't think there's ever been like an even remotely tense exchange regarding, oh, this section should be 8 bars, or this section should be 16 bars, or we should like, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. And that's what makes it really, really fun. I've never been in a band like this before. And there's always some sort of tumult, right? There's always some sort of like push pull amongst egos and agendas and all that stuff. And like literally the only agenda that we have is to have fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. I wanted to touch on something that Tom and John had mentioned about the writing. Previous to this, I was actually living in Virginia, and I was in literally a garage band with a couple of guys from work, and a lot of covers, but some originals, and I ended up being the primary songwriter for reasons. And I always thought it was challenging to write a good lyric, right? Really that wasn't trite or cliched, and there was a particular challenge to that. But writing the instrumentals is a whole other thing, because when you've got a vocals and a lyricist, those words then propel where the direction of the song goes, but you can have just a 3-chord riff underneath that just goes through for 3 minutes. With a good surf song or a good instrumental song, you've got to tell that story instrumentally, and that's a real challenge. And I mean I enjoy it, but it's pushed me in a whole different direction, and it's just really amazing to have to like, okay, I can't just repeat this lick again, because now it's getting boring. I got to do something different with it.
There's a little reverba trivia here. So Tim does, on the songs he writes, he literally writes a little story that goes along with each song, because he makes it like a cinematic, almost like it's like a little movie. And so you can email him, and he'll send you the story that goes with a particular song video. They're great, and you can read along, and it follows the cadence of the song. So awesome. He brought that
cinematic approach.
Yeah, I guess you can call it.
Which reminds me, actually, now that I think about it, I can now remember a moment of, I guess we could call it controversy in this band. We were in the studio mixing the most recent record that we put out in 2020. And I believe it was in actually the song that Tim mentioned. It was
Codename
Kraken.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, if you listen to the record, you'll hear, you know, we've brought some samples and things in of various sounds just to add some textures and colors and things of that nature. And I was hell-bent on having some lasers like in the song, and
there were no lasers in that story.
There were no lasers in the story.
That was the other one.
I was like, yeah, I get it, Tim. That's really cool, but oh boy, a laser sound there would be really awesome.
No.
And he's like, yeah, no. And I was like, well, let's just add it and listen back. And we did it, and everyone kind of laughed, and we kind of enjoyed it. I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And Tim's like, that sounds great. Yeah, and it's not in the story. we gotta cut out the laser.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was bummed for like 5 minutes, and then I got on with my life. Mostly.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys go in and record, do you prefer to record live as a band, or what is your technique?
Live as much as possible.
Well, we tend to do it layered, though. I mean, it tends to be you and Adam do your thing, and then Tim and I do our thing together or separately.
The bass and drums are always laid down together, so the rhythm section is like, if it's not, even if there's a bad bass track and a good drum track, we redo it until the bass and drums are like a single thing.
Yeah.
And if the guitar tracks are working, we'll keep them. And then there'll be oftentimes overdubs in addition to that. But
another bit of Reverbit trivia. At one point, as we were working on that record, Watch TV, Tom says, "Why do you guys insist on writing parts you can't play?"
Yeah, we tend to write complicated guitar parts, and it's just really, really stressful to try to lay it down playing everything live.
Yeah.
Because like if I make a mistake just playing to the recording, I feel a lot more comfortable playing to the recording than playing and trying to get it absolutely recording perfect with all of us together. And I think Tim probably feels similar.
Yeah.
So, and it's just easier to roll back, to redo it if Tim and I are doing stuff individually.
Yeah.
I mean, I always love playing all together. But for the record, I prefer doing it rhythm section than each of the guitars. And then we had Farfisa and marimba here and there.
Yeah. And the other thing that I found fascinating, because doing recording, other than a band, God, in 1987, we put together a demo tape of 4 songs. This is really the most in-depth professional recording sessions I've been involved in.
Same.
And it was eye-opening at how different it is to record a record from playing the songs live. And it isn't just strictly that you're live and you're going to make a mistake, but you're just grinding through, right? I think one of our hallmarks is we're a high energy band, so that if somebody makes a flub, it doesn't matter because we're just steamrolling over people anyway. But there is, I don't want to say high stakes, but it is like all of a sudden there's this thing about, wow, we're recording this and this is now the document of this song, right? This is what this song is going to sound like to people when they hear that recording. You know, it's part of it is to recognize it's a snapshot, not a freezing necessarily, that things will continue to evolve as you play them. But it's a whole different experience being in a room and getting mic'd up and I mean, and it's even different than rehearsal, right? Rehearsal, we're all in the room together, but it's then just the 4 of us, right? There isn't that, okay, the engineer goes, okay, recording. And now it's like,
Yeah. So what are you guys up to right now? Are you like,
well, we're talking to you.
but I mean, like you came out with a record in 2020 and then, you know, the shit hit the fan. And
by the time that record came out, the shit had already hit the fan.
Oh yeah.
By about 6 months.
Yeah.
We were mixing and simultaneously like drowning ourselves in hand sanitizer. Like right up until like the
full
shelter,
lockdown,
the
yeah.
like the full lockdowns
Yeah.
happened in March of 2020. So we ended up essentially finishing that record kind of over email with our engineer at the time, the late John Finkbeiner, rest in peace, John. It
was amazing to work with.
He was incredible to work with. And we later found out he passed away from a rare form of cancer, which was just a huge bummer, especially for the local music community. But we were working with John basically over email to basically be like, hey, can you bring the rhythm a little higher here, blah blah blah. And we ended up getting it done in the summer, and then we were all just kind of looking at each other going, well, do we just put this thing out? Do we wait for things to like reopen so that we can go out and play shows? And ultimately, I think it was Adam who basically is like major label recording artists are just like making a record and just like putting it out the next day.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stop us from just getting this thing out there, and nobody knows when we're going to play shows again, but we've got this great record. Let's just let people hear it.
And a little selfishly, I was really proud of it, not just the drums, but the whole thing. And I wanted people to hear it so bad. I was like, we worked so hard on this. And
we did.
We worked harder than our wives.
Yeah.
And did people get it? Like, were you happy with the response you got?
The response so far has been great. Yeah, I mean, when we first put it out, I don't know that a lot of people noticed, but as we've been playing more and more gigs, people are definitely getting it.
Yeah.
People are streaming it. We're selling some CDs. So people are liking it.
Yeah.
I'm quite satisfied.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of different podcasts, all over the country, Storm Surge Reverb, New Orleans, Clint Beachwood, our friend Clint down in San Diego. There's
Day at the Beach, his podcast.
Day at the Beach is his podcast. There's a couple other podcasts that immediately jumped all over it. Cousin Mary spins it on her show sometimes. So yeah, a lot of people, jumped on it and started. What's really interesting about it is it's like nobody ends up picking the same song to put in their podcast or whatever. Somebody gravitates to something different like every time, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It means it made a solid album, a well-rounded album.
Yeah. I think it is. So right now we have about 6 or 8 tunes that we are working on. And looking to do a recording probably 2023 at some point when we get an album's worth of tunes together. I think we're close to having that. We just need to learn how to play them. But I think we'll have another really groovy album coming out in the next 6 to 9 months. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys, for your time.
Thank you.
You guys really seem like you got like a family spirit, and you were really easy to talk to, and of course you always love when the band is all on the interview, and you see them interact, and they're all best friends, and I think that's a testament to the good music that you're writing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we enjoy spending time with each other, right? I mean, to get all goofy and everything, right? I mean, these guys are my friends, right?
Totally.
And like Tom said, I'm at a place in my life where I want to do things with my friends. I don't want to make music, and I've been in that situation where the music is really good, but I don't want to spend another moment with this particular individual, right? It's like that's not where I am anymore, right? During the lockdown, we ended up doing a remote D&D campaign, not only with us, but with our wives as well.
Yeah.
So,
some of us had never touched a Dungeons and Dragons game ever in our lives. I'm not going to name names. Me. I was just like, what are we even doing here right now, guys? What are we doing? But it ended up being stuff. Exactly. Yeah. It ended up being just a way for us to just stay connected, because I think it was really hard. And look, we all know that the pandemic has had just immeasurable impact on musicians and the music community, and it's still in the process of like making its way back, right? A couple of our favorite venues to play and some of the biggest supporters of surf music still haven't resumed live music. And we're hoping and praying that it comes back. But even more so for this band, like I think one of the hardest things is just staying connected, like the lack of rehearsals, the lack of gigs and all that stuff. Like it was a visceral kind of thing. Like we really missed it, you know. We're just happy to be back doing it. It's been a busy year for gigs and
good
like that now, which is awesome. And
we're literally gonna rehearse right now. Like after we're done talking to you, we'll go right downstairs. That's what we're gonna go do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you once again. I always thank my guests for accommodating my schedule. I know sometimes I have to juggle, and just thank you guys for being so cool about it.
Sure.
And you know, wearing that shirt, that was a big part of the.
You don't know the angst that Tom had around choosing the shirt. He showed up with 20 different ones going, what do you think, guys? What do you think, guys? And we're like, Tom, you're naked. Can you just put something on?
It's like Morrissey's he's
a tool.
He's a polarizing figure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to that thing. And you know, it's just like if you're gonna wear a Morrissey shirt, you could at least do it in Metallica script, right?
Nice. All right, guys, you have a great night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.